most dementia caregivers are making at least one of these five mistakes, and they don't even know it. And the worst part is that these mistakes absolutely make caregiving harder, more frustrating, more stressful for both you and the person with dementia. So if you're feeling stuck, burned out, or feeling like nothing you are trying is working, today's video is going to help you change that. Let's fix these mistakes so that you can start seeing better results with less stress. Let's dive right in with mistake number 5, and that is interpreting the behavior rather than assessing the behavior and being curious about it. I like to say, don't assume, assess. We touched on this last week, but repeating it is worth it because this is such a foundational teaching, but many caregivers jump to interpreting a behavior. They see their loved one doing something and they think that person's refusing, they're being stubborn, they're doing this to me, they're making my life difficult. And that kind of mindset will block solutions from coming to you. So instead, we want to try to understand the behavior before we try to change the behavior. And by taking that approach, you are absolutely more likely to actually change the behavior. So be curious, ask yourself, what could be contributing to this behavior? That mindset shift alone can open the door to many possibilities and solutions. Mistake number 4 is responding emotionally instead of logically to challenging behavioral situations. Think about a challenging behavior you are facing now with your loved one. How do you feel when that behavior happens? Frustrated, irritable, resentful? When you approach trying to change a behavior from those emotions of frustration, irritability, resentment, your response is likely going to make the problem worse. So instead, what we want to do is we want to lean on logic. When I'm talking to a Care Collective member in one of our live Q&As and they're bringing a behavioral challenge to me and I'm trying to get information about the specific behavioral challenge so that I can recommend some strategies and approaches that they take, I'm always asking them, tell me the facts, not your feelings about the behavior. Of course, there's room to process the feelings and all of that, but if we really want to solve the behavior that is happening, tell me the facts. What exactly are they saying? Where exactly is it happening? When is it happening? Who is around? What's going on in the environment? That's what I want to know, the facts, not the feelings. The feelings will cloud our judgment and being able to see what's possibly happening and what can help. Here's how you know your feelings might be clouding the facts. It's if you're having thoughts like, he's always been so difficult, she's doing this on purpose, they've always been stubborn, they're just trying to make my life more difficult. That's how we know we're stuck in this emotional reactivity. But when we focus on the facts of what have actually happened, we'll get much, much further. And the way that we know it's not facts that they've always been stubborn or they're trying to make my life more difficult is because we want to think about what are the facts that can be proven in the court of law? What are the facts that can be absolutely 100% certainty identified if watched on a video? We can't identify with 100% certainty this person is doing this on purpose. We don't know. That's our interpretation. But we can identify they said these exact words at this exact time with these exact people around. Mistake number 3, this is a big one. This is where we tend to be reactive instead of proactive. So we often wait until a behavior shows up and then we scramble trying to respond to that behavior. But here's the truth. It's easier to prevent a behavior from starting than it is to stop it once it's started. So one of the best ways is to get ahead of the behavior by getting your loved one engaged in something enjoyable and pleasant and safe for them. For example, if you notice certain behaviors tend to happen around the same time each day, like for instance, maybe your loved one says they want to go home every evening at 6:30, but they're already home and they don't understand that. Well, we want to get ahead of that behavior at 6:30 and maybe starting at 6 p.m., we're engaging them in one of their favorite activities and a pleasant meal and a good show. We're trying to take action before it starts in hopes that we can prevent it from starting at all. This one change can dramatically reduce stress for both you and your loved one. Careblazer, before we get into the last 2 mistakes, if you have been struggling with behavioral situations and you want step-by-step guidance in figuring out what is it that you should say or do in those moments, I'd love for you to join me in my 5-day live experience called Behavior Breakthroughs, where I'm going to walk you through step by step the most important things you need to know and the path to follow to reduce and prevent these situations from happening. You can go to www.careblazers.com/breakthrough to save your spot. Okay, so mistake number 2, it's giving up on an approach too soon. So have you ever said, yeah, I've tried that, it didn't work? This might be a sign that you're making this mistake. Sometimes it's not the strategy that doesn't work. Sometimes it's our tone, the delivery, the timing, the environment. So we could take the same strategy that might work beautifully with just a small tweak. Think about it like this. You don't throw out a recipe if the oven was too hot. We just adjust the oven temperature. And mistake number 1 is thinking that a repeated behavior means you have to come up with a brand new strategy. I hear this mistake all the time, and it creates so much added pressure and stress for the Careblazer. So let's say your loved one, for example, keeps repeating the same question over and over again, and you are able to answer their question, and it seems to calm them in the moment. But then maybe an hour later, they ask the same question again. Does that mean your original approach of answering the question didn't work? No, not at all. Your approach worked well. It worked great. We know that because your loved one responded well in the moment. Sometimes these repeated behaviors don't mean your approach didn't work. It just means that maybe their memory is failing and they need a reminder again. It's time for more reassurance again. You don't need a new strategy every time the same behavior pops up. You just need one strategy that works, and then give yourself permission to reuse that strategy. I think about it sometimes like this. How many of us eat meals during the day? We eat snacks, food, meals during the day. Absolutely. But we still get hungry. We still get hungry again later in the day. We get hungry to the next day and the next day and the next day. Yet we keep eating, and nobody is questioning whether eating works. We just know it's time to eat again. So there are definitely think through. There might be some strategies you are currently using that are working well in the moment, but you're thinking you need something new because that behavior keeps happening again down the road. Maybe it's okay to keep using the same strategy. Okay, Careblazer, so how many of these mistakes are you making? And don't worry if you're making these mistakes, because most Careblazers are. I made many of these mistakes when I was caring for my mom and dad. It's just a hard situation to be in. It's not very clear. There's lots of emotions involved. We're just doing the best that we can. But I certainly hope this video can help maybe highlight some of the mistakes we are making and give us an opportunity to make some tweaks so that life can become easier and less stressful for you and your loved one. And if you are ready to truly take a different approach to challenging dementia-related behaviors, an approach that can save you time and stress and emotional exhaustion, I really hope you'll join me in Behavior Breakthroughs, our 5-day live experience where I will be teaching live for those whole 5 days. And you can save your spot right now at www.careblazers.com/breakthrough. I will be back next week on another video on behaviors to help you feel more confident and supported. I will see you then. Thank you for what you're doing for your loved one. I know it's hard. You want to know what else is hard? Apparently Milo's life. I mean, come on. My cat lives a hard life. That is all. Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.